Chapter 9. Powder and Arms. The Hispaniola lay some way out, and we went under the figureheads and round the sterns of many other ships, and their cables sometimes grated underneath our keel, and sometimes swung above us. At last, however, we got alongside, and were met and saluted as we stepped aboard by the mate, Mr. Arrow, a brown old sailor with earrings in his ears and a squint. He and the squire were very thick and friendly, but I soon observed that things were not the same between Mr. Trelawney and the captain. This last was a sharp-looking man who seemed angry with everything on board, and was soon to tell us why, for we had hardly got down into the cabin when a sailor followed us. "Captain Smollett, sir, axing to speak with you," said he. "I am always at the captain's orders." "Show him in," said the squire.
You'll never take her, old man.
"Well, Captain Smollett, what have you to say? All well, I hope? All shipshape and seaworthy?" "Well, sir," said the captain, "better speak plain, I believe, even at the risk of offence. I don't like this cruise. I don't like the men, and I don't like my officer. That's short and sweet." "Perhaps, sir, you don't like the ship?" inquired the squire, very angry, as I could see. "I can't speak to that, sir, not having seen her tried," said the captain. "She seems a clever craft. More I can't say." "Possibly, sir, you may not like your employer either," says the squire. But here Dr. Livesey cut in. "Stay a bit," said he. "Stay a bit. No use of such questions as that, but to produce ill feeling. The captain has said too much, or he has said too little, and I'm bound to say that I require an explanation of his words. You don't, you say, like this cruise. Now why?" "I was engaged, sir, on what we call sealed orders, to sail this ship for that gentleman where he should bid me," said the captain. "So far, so good. But now I find that every man before the mast knows more than I do. I don't call that fair, now do you?" "No," said Dr. Livesey, "I don't." "Next," said the captain, "I learn we are going after treasure. Hear it from my own hands, mind you. Now treasure is ticklish work. I don't like treasure voyages on any account, and I don't like them, above all, when they are secret, and when, begging your pardon, Mr. Trelawney, the secret has been told to the parrot." "Silver's parrot?" asked the squire. "It's a way of speaking," said the captain. "Blabbed, I mean. It's my belief neither of you gentlemen know what you are about, but I'll tell you my way of it. Life or death, and a close run." "That is all clear, and, I dare say, true enough," replied Dr. Livesey. "We take the risk, but we are not so ignorant as you believe us. Next, you say you don't like the crew. Are they not good seamen?" "I don't like them, sir," returned Captain Smollett, "and I think I should have had the choosing of my own hands, if you go to that." "Perhaps you should," replied the doctor. "My friend should, perhaps, have taken you along with him, but the slight, if there be one, was unintentional." "And you don't like Mr. Arrow?" "I don't, sir. I believe he's a good seaman, but he's too free with the crew to be a good officer. A mate should keep himself to himself. shouldn't drink with the men before the mast."
You'll never take
"Do you
her,
mean
old
he
man.
drinks?" cried the squire. "No, sir," replied the captain. "Only that he's too familiar." "Well now, and the short and long of it, Captain?" asked the doctor.
No!
"Tell us what you want."
Make them stop!
"Well, gentlemen,
Leave me alone.
are you determined to go on this cruise?" "Like iron," answered the squire. "Very good," said the captain. "Then, as you've heard me very patiently, saying things that I could not prove, hear me a few words more. They are putting the powder and the arms in the fore hold. Now, you have a good place under the cabin. Why not put them there? First point.
We're ready. What's inside?
Then, you are bringing 4 of your own people with you, and they tell me some of them are to be berthed forward. Why not give them the berths here beside the cabin? Second point.
Then we take the bridge.
Any more? asked Mr. Trelawney.
Keep it quiet. That chest has to go to
One
us.
more,
What about the
said the
animals?
captain.
They're mine!
There's been too much blabbing already.
When the captain gets
Far
his
too
bride,
much, agreed the doctor.
his reward is a knife in the
I'll
back.
tell you what I've heard myself,
Come to silence
continued
the
Captain
royalists.
Smollett,
Tonight,
that you have a map of an island, that there's crosses on the map to show where treasure is, and that the island lies... And then he named the latitude and longitude exactly. "I never told that," cried the squire, "to a soul."
The plan is set.
"The hands know it,
Fast and
sir,"
quietly. Agreed.
returned
Let's
the
make it
captain.
happen. To the Kraken with it. Disperse now.
"Livesey, that must have been you or Hawkins," cried the squire. "It doesn't much matter who it was," replied the doctor. And I could see that neither he nor the captain paid much regard to Mr. Trelawney's protestations. Neither did I, to be sure. He was so loose a talker. Yet in this case I believe he was really right, and that nobody had told the situation of the island. "Well, gentlemen," continued the captain, "I don't know who has this map, but I make it a point. It shall be kept secret even from me and Mr. Arrow. Otherwise, I would ask you to let me resign."
I don't know, I swear. Lies, tell me.
"I see," said the doctor.
Do you know the hidden papa? I might.
"You wish us to keep this matter dark, and to make a garrison of the stern part of the ship, manned with my friend's own people,
and I.
and provided with all the arms and powder on board. In other words, you fear a mutiny."
Coast is clear.
"Sir," said Captain Smollett,
Can't risk it.
Absolutely.
"with no intention to take offense,
You can steal
I deny your right to put words into my mouth.
Get it, old man!
No captain, sir, would be justified in going to sea at all if he had ground enough to say that.
You'll never take her, old man.
As for Mr. Arrow, I believe him thoroughly honest. Some of the men are the same. All may be, for what I know. But I am responsible for the ship's safety and the life of every man jack aboard of her. I see things going, as I think, not quite right. And I ask you to take certain precautions, or let me resign my berth. And that's all." "Captain Smollett," began the doctor with a smile, "did ever you hear the fable of the mountain and the mouse? You'll excuse me, I dare say, but you remind me of that fable.
What's inside?
When you came in here, I'll stake my wig,
Plan is set.
you meant more than
Follow your
this."
lead, Captain. Good. Let's make this quick.
"Doctor," said the captain, "you are smart.
Magazine is here.
When I came in here, I meant to get discharged.
No survivors.
I had no thought that Mr. Trelawney would hear a word.
Has to go to us. But what about the emeralds?
No more I would,
Not
cried
till
the
we split
squire.
evenly, you scalawag.
Had Livesey not been here, I should have seen you to the deuce.
Find his reward.
As it is, I have heard you.
The time has come.
I will do as you desire, but I think the worse of you. That's as you please, sir, said the captain. You'll find I do my duty.
No,
And with that he took his leave.
no, don't come in.
Trelawney, said the doctor, contrary to all my notions, I believe you have managed to get 2 honest men on board with you,
Let's make it happen. To the Kraken.
that man and John Silver. Silver, if you like, cried the squire. But as for that intolerable humbug, I declare I think his conduct unmanly, unsailorly, and downright un-English. Well, says the doctor, we shall see. When we came on deck, the men had begun already to take out the arms and powder, yo-hoing at their work, while the captain and Mr. Arrow stood by superintending. The new arrangement was quite to my liking.
Follow me. Let's take
The whole schooner had been overhauled. 6 berths had been made astern out of what had been the after part of the main hold, and this set of cabins was only joined to the galley and forecastle
I can't.
by a sparred passage on the port side.
I've been waiting for you.
It had been originally meant that the captain, Mr. Arrow, Hunter, Joyce, the doctor, and the squire were to occupy these 6 berths. Now Redruth and I were to get 2 of them, and Mr. Arrow and the captain were to sleep on deck in the companion, which had been enlarged on each side till you might have almost called it a roundhouse.
Shouldn't have come back.
Very low it was still, of course, but there was room to swing 2 hammocks, and even the mate seemed pleased with the arrangement. Even he, perhaps, had been doubtful as to the crew, but that is only guess, for as you shall hear, we had not long the benefit of his opinion.
Stop. They won't leave me alone.
We were all hard at work, changing the powder and the berths, when the last man or 2, and Long John along with them, came off in a shore-boat. The cook came up the side like a monkey for cleverness, and as soon as he saw what was doing, "So-ho, mates," says he, "what's this?" "We're a-changing of the powder, Jack,"
Keep watch.
answers one. "Why, by the powers," cried Long John, "if we do, we'll miss the morning tide."
We follow your lead, Captain. Good.
"My orders,"
Let's make this quick.
said the captain shortly. "You may go below, my man.
Oh,
Hands will want supper."
then we take the bridge.
No survivors.
"Aye, aye, sir,"
Agreed.
answered the cook,
Quiet.
and, touching his forelock, he disappeared at once in the direction of his galley.
Till we split it evenly, you scalawag.
"That's a good man, Captain," said the doctor.
He'll find his reward.
"Very likely, sir," replied Captain Smollett.
Come to silence the loyalists.
"Easy with that, men, easy."
No quarter.
He ran on to the fellows who were shifting the powder, and then, suddenly observing me examining the swivel we carried amidships, a long brass 9, "Here you, ship's boy," he cried,
Don't come in.
"out of that! Off with you to the cook, and get some work." And then, as I was hurrying off, I heard him say quite loudly to the doctor,
Cracking with it.
"I'll have no favourites on my ship." I assure you, I was quite of the squire's way of thinking, and hated the captain deeply. End of chapter 9. Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. Chapter 10. The Voyage. All that night we were in a great bustle, getting things stowed in their place, and boatfuls of the squire's friends, Mr. Blandley and the like, coming off to wish him a good voyage and a safe return.
Jim, you must be very careful. They are listening.
We never had a night at the Admiral Benbow when I had half the
Where's
work,
old captain? I don't know, I swear.
and I was dog-tired when, a little before dawn,
Do you know the hidden path?
the boatswain sounded his pipe,
Dangerous.
and the crew began to man the capstan bars. I might have been twice as weary, yet I would not have left the deck. All was so new and interesting to me. The brief commands, the shrill note of the whistle, the men bustling to their places in the glimmer of the ship's lanterns.
Now listen carefully.
You think you can steal from
"Now,
me?
Barbecue, tip us a stave,"
Come and get it,
cried one voice.
I'll rip it from you.
"The old one," cried another. "Aye, aye, mates," said Long John, who was standing by with his crutch under his arm, and at once broke out in the air, and words I knew so well. 15 men on the dead man's chest. And the whole crew bore chorus, "Yo ho ho," and a bottle of rum. And at the third ho, drove the bars before them with a will. Even at that exciting moment it carried me back to the old Admiral Benbow in a second, and I seemed to hear the voice of the captain piping in the chorus. But soon the anchor was short up. Soon it was hanging, dripping at the bows. Soon the sails began to draw, and the land and shipping to flit by on either side. And before I could lie down to snatch an hour of slumber, the Hispaniola had begun her voyage to the Isle of Treasure.
Let's make this quick.
I am not going to relate that voyage in detail.
Then we take the bridge.
It was fairly prosperous.
Agreed.
Keep it quiet.
The ship proved to be a good ship,
But what about the emerald?
the crew were capable seamen,
Not until we split it
and the
evenly,
captain
you scallywag.
thoroughly understood his business.
Captain gets his prize.
But before we came the length of Treasure Island,
In the back.
2 or 3 things had happened which required to be known.
Loyalists, tonight, no quarter.
Mr. Arrow, first of all, turned out even worse than the captain had feared. He had no command among the men, and people did what they pleased with him,
Please, no.
but that was by no means the worst of it. For after a day or two at sea he began to appear on deck with hazy eye, red cheeks,
Move fast and
stuttering
quietly.
tongue,
Agreed. Let's make it happen. To the
and
crack
other
of dawn.
marks of drunkenness.
Disperse now.
Time after time he was ordered below in disgrace. Sometimes he fell and cut himself. Sometimes he lay all day long in his little bunk at one side of the companion. Sometimes, for a day or two, he would be almost sober, and attend to his work at least passably. In the meantime, we could never make out where he got the drink. That was the ship's mystery. Watch him as we pleased, we could do nothing to solve it. And when we asked him to his face, he would only laugh if he were drunk, and if he were sober deny solemnly that he ever tasted anything but water.
I don't know, I swear. Lies, tell me, or else.
He was not only useless as an officer, and a bad influence amongst the men,
I can't.
but it was plain that at this rate he must soon kill himself outright.
For you. And I.
So nobody was much surprised, nor very sorry, when one dark night, with a head sea,
Coast is clear.
he disappeared entirely and was seen no more.
Can't risk it. Absolutely. Now listen carefully.
You think you
"Overboard,"
can steal from me and walk
said
away?
the captain.
I took what's mine. Come
"Well,
and get it,
gentlemen,
old man.
that saves the trouble of putting him in irons."
You shouldn't have come back.
But there we were, without a mate, and it was necessary, of course, to advance one of the men. The boatswain, Job Anderson, was the likeliest man aboard, and though he kept his old title, he served in a way as mate. Mr. Trelawney had followed the sea, and his knowledge made him very useful, for he often took a watch himself in easy weather. And the coxswain, Israel Hands, was a careful, wily, old, experienced seaman who could be trusted at a pinch with almost anything. He was a great confidant of Long John Silver, and so the mention of his name leads me to speak of our ship's cook, Barbecue, as the men called him. Aboard ship he carried his crutch by a lanyard round his neck, to have both hands as free as possible. It was something to see him wedge the foot of the crutch against a bulkhead, and propped against it, yielding to every movement of the ship, still get on with his cooking like someone safe ashore. Still more strange was it to see him in the heaviest of weather cross the deck. He had a line or two rigged up to help him across the widest spaces. Long John's earrings they were called, and he would hand himself from one place to another, now using the crutch, now trailing it alongside by the lanyard, as quickly as another man could walk. Yet some of the men who had sailed with him before expressed their pity to see him so reduced. "He's no common man, Barbecue," said the coxswain to me. "He had good schooling in his young days, and can speak like a book when so minded, and brave. A lion's nothing alongside of Long John. I seen him grapple four and knock their heads together, him unarmed." All the crew respected, and even obeyed him. He had a way of talking to each, and doing everybody some particular service. To me he was unweariedly kind, and always glad to see me in the galley, which he kept as clean as a new pin, the dishes hanging up burnished, and his parrot in a cage in one corner. "Come away, Hawkins," he would say. "Come and have a yarn with John. Nobody more welcome than yourself, my son. Sit you down and hear the news. Here's Captain Flint. I calls my parrot Captain Flint after the famous buccaneer. Here's Captain Flint predicting success to our voyage. Wasn't you, Captain?" And the parrot would say with great rapidity, "Pieces of 8, pieces of 8, pieces of 8, till you wondered that it was not out of breath, or till John threw his handkerchief over the cage.
Absolutely. Now listen carefully.
"Now that bird," he would say, "is maybe 200 years old, Hawkins. They live forever mostly, and if anybody's seen more wickedness, it must be the devil himself. She's sailed with England, the great Captain England, the pirate. She's been at Madagascar, and Malabar, and Suriname, and Providence, and Portobello. She was at the fishing up of the wrecked plate ships. It's there she learned pieces of 8, and little wonder. 350,000 of 'em, Hawkins. She was at the boarding of the Viceroy of the Indies out of Goa, she was, and to look at her you would think she was a baby. But you smelt powder, didn't you, Captain? Stand by to go about," the parrot would scream. "Ah, she's a handsome craft, she is," the cook would say, and give her sugar from his pocket. And then the bird would peck at the bars and swear straight on, passing belief for wickedness. "There," John would add, You can't touch pitch and not be mucked, lad.
Then we take the bridge.
Here's this poor old innocent bird o' mine swearing blue fire, and none the wiser, you may lay to that. She would swear the same, in a manner of speaking, before chaplain. And John would touch his forelock with a solemn way he had, that made me think he was the best of men. In the meantime, the squire and Captain Smollett were still on pretty distant terms with one another. The squire made no bones about the matter. He despised the captain.
Please, no! Don't come in!
The captain, on his part, never spoke but when he was spoken to, and then sharp and short and dry, and not a word wasted. He owned, when driven into a corner, that he seemed to have been wrong about the crew, that some of them were as brisk as he wanted to see, and all had behaved fairly well. As for the ship, he had taken a downright fancy to her. She'll lie a point nearer the wind than a man has a right to expect of his own married wife, sir. But, he would add, all I say is, we're not home again, and I don't like the cruise. The squire, at this, would turn away and march up and down the deck, chin in air. A trifle more of that, man, he would say, and I shall explode.
Where's the old captain?
I don't know, I swear.
Lies.
We
tell
had
me,
some
or else.
heavy weather, which only proved the qualities of the Hispaniola.
But it's dangerous.
2 more rooms.
Every man on board seemed well content, and they must have been hard to please if they had been otherwise.
And I,
For it is my belief there never was a ship's company so spoiled since Noah put to sea. Double grog was going on the least excuse. There was duff on odd days, as, for instance, if the squire heard it was any man's birthday, and always a barrel of apples standing broached in the waist for anyone to help himself that had a fancy. Never knew good come of it yet, the captain said to Dr. Livesey. Spoil forecastle hands, make devils. That's my belief. But good did come of the apple barrel, as you shall hear. For if it had not been for that, we should have had no note of warning, and might all have perished by the hand of treachery. This was how it came about. We had run up the trades to get the wind of the island we were after. I am not allowed to be more plain. And now we were running down for it with a bright lookout day and night. It was about the last day of our outward voyage by the largest computation. Sometime that night, or at latest before noon of the morrow, we should sight the treasure island.
We follow your lead, Captain. Good.
We were heading south-southwest, and had a steady breeze abeam and a quiet sea.
We hit it at midnight.
The Hispaniola rolled steadily,
Agreed.
dipping her bowsprit now and then with a whiff of spray.
But what about the emeralds? They're
All was
mine.
drawing low and aloft.
Split it evenly, you scalawag.
Everyone was in the bravest spirits, because we were now so near an end of the first part of our adventure.
In the back. The time has come to silence
Now after
the voices.
sundown, when all my work was over and I was on my way to my berth, it occurred to me that I should like an apple. I ran on deck.
No,
The watch was all forward, looking out for the island.
please, no!
The man at the helm was watching the luff of the sail and whistling away gently to himself. And that was the only sound excepting the swish of the sea against the bows and around the sides of the ship.
Disperse now.
In I got bodily to the apple barrel, and found there was scarce an apple left. But sitting down there in the dark, what with the sound of the waters and the rocking movement of the ship, I had either fallen asleep or was on the point of doing so, when a heavy man sat down with rather a clash close by. The barrel shook as he leaned his shoulders against it, and I was just about to jump up when the man began to speak. It was Silver's voice, and before I had heard a dozen words, I would not have shown myself for all the world, but lay there, trembling and listening in the extreme of fear and curiosity. For from these dozen words I understood that the lives of all the honest men aboard depended upon me alone. End of chapter 10.
The coast is clear.
Chapter 11. What I Heard in the Apple Barrel. No, not I, said Silver. Flint was captain. I was quartermaster, along of my timber leg. The same broadside I lost my leg, old Pew lost his deadlights. It was a master surgeon, him that amputated me, out of college and all, Latin by the bucket, and what not. But he was hanged like a dog, and sun-dried like the rest at Corso Castle. That was Robert's men, that was, and combed of changing names to their ships, Royal, Fortune, and so on. Now what a ship was christened, so let her stay, I says. So it was the Cassandra, as I brought us all safe home from Malabar after England took the Viceroy of the Indies. So it was with the old Walrus, Flint's old ship, as I've seen a muck with the red blood, and fit to ink with the gold. Ah! Cried another voice, that of the youngest hand on the board, and evidently full of admiration. He was the flower of the flock, was Flint. Davis was a man too, by all accounts, said Silver. I never sailed along of him, first with England, then with Flint, that's my story. And now here on my own account, in a manner of speaking, I laid by 900 safe from England, and 2,000 after Flint. That ain't bad for a man before the mast, all safe in the bank. Tain't earning now, it's saving, does it, you may lay to that. Where's all England's men now? I don't know, where's Flint? Why, most of 'em aboard here, and glad to get the duff. Been begging before that, some of 'em. Old Pew has had lost his sight, might have thought shame, spends £1,200 a year, like a lord in Parliament. Where is he now? Well, he's dead now and under hatches. But for 2 years before that, shiver me timbers, the man was starving. He begged and he stole and he cut throats and he starved at death by the powers. Well, it isn't much use after all, said the young seaman. 'Tain't much use for fools, you may lay to that. That nor nothing, cried Silver. But now you look here, you're young, you are. You're smart as paint. I see that when I set my eyes on you, and I'll talk to you like a man. You may imagine how I felt when I heard this abominable old rogue addressing another in the very same words of flattery as he had used to myself. I think, if I had been able, that I would have killed him through the barrel. Meantime he ran on, little supposing he was overheard. Here it is about gentlemen of fortune. They live rough and they risk swinging, but they eat and drink like fighting cocks, and when the cruise is done, why, it's hundreds of pounds instead of hundreds of farthings in their pockets. Now the most goes for rum and a good fling, and to the sea again in their shirts. But that's not the course I lay. I puts it away, some here, some there, and none too much anywheres, by reason of suspicion. I'm 50, mark you. Once back from this cruise, I set up gentlemen in earnest. Time enough too, says you. Ah, but I've lived easy in the meantime, never denied myself a nothing heart desires, and slept soft and ate dainty all my days, but when at sea. And how did I begin? Before the mast, like you. Well, said the other, but all the other money's gone now, ain't it? You daren't show face in Bristol after this. Why, where might you suppose it was? Asked Silver derisively. At Bristol, in banks and places, answered his companion. It were, said the cook, It were when we weighed anchor, but my old missus has it all by now, and the spyglass is sold, lease and goodwill and rigging, and the old girl's off to meet me. I would tell you where, for I trust you, but it'd make jealousy among the mates. And you can trust your missus? Asked the other. Gentlemen of fortune, returned the cook, usually trust little among themselves, and right they are, you may lay to it. But I have a way with me, I have. When a mate brings a slip on his cable, one as knows me, I mean it won't be the same world with old John. There was some that was feared of Pew, some that was feared of Flint, but Flint his own self was afeard of me. Feared he was, and proud. They was the roughest crew afloat, was Flint. The devil himself would have been feared to go to sea with them. Well now, I tell you, I'm not a boasting man, and you seen yourself how easy I keep company. But when I was quartermaster, lambs wasn't a word for Flint's old buccaneers. You may be sure of yourself in old John's ship. Well, I tell you now, replied the lad, I didn't have a quarter like this job till I had this talk with you, John. But there's my hand on it now. And a brave lad you were, and smart too, answered Silver, shaking hands so heartily that all the barrel shook, and a finer figurehead for a gentleman of fortune I've never clapped my eyes on. By this time I had begun to understand the meaning of their terms. By a gentleman of fortune they plainly meant neither more nor less than a common pirate, and the little scene that I had overheard was the last act in the corruption of one of the honest hands, perhaps of the last one left aboard. But on this point I was soon to be relieved, for Silver, giving a little whistle, a third man strolled up and sat down by the party. "Dick Square," said Silver. "Oh, I know Dick was square," returned the voice of the coxswain, Israel Hands. "He's no fool, is Dick." And he turned his quid and spat. "But look here," he went on. "Here's what I want to know, barbecue. How long are we going to stand off and on like a blessed bumboat? I've almost had enough of old Captain Smollett. He's hazed me long enough, by thunder. I want to go into that cabin, I do. I want their pickles and wine and that." "Israel," said Silver, "your head ain't much account, or never was. But you are able to hear, I reckon, lestways your ears is big enough. Now here's what I say. You'll berth forward, and you'll live hard, and you'll speak soft, and you'll keep sober till I give the word. And you may lay to that, my son." "Well, I don't say no, do I?" growled the coxswain. "What I say is when, that's what I say." "When? By the powers," cried Silver. "Well now, if you want to know, I'll tell you when. The last moment I can manage, and that's when. Here's a first-rate seaman, Captain Smollett, sails the best ship for us. Here's the squire and the doctor with a map and such. I don't know where it is, do I? No more do you, says you. Well then, I mean the squire and doctor shall find the stuff and help us to get it aboard, by the powers. Then we'll see. If I was sure of you all, sons of double Dutchmen, I'd have Captain Smollett navigate us halfway back again before I struck." "Why, we're all seamen aboard here, I should think," said the lad Dick. "We're all forecastle hands, you mean," snapped Silver. "We can steer a course, but who's to set one?" "That's what all of you gentlemen spit on, first and last. If I had my way, I'd have Captain Smollett work us back into the trades at least. Then we'd have no blessed miscalculations and a spoonful of water a day. But I know the sort you are. I'll finish with them at the island, as soon as the blunt's on board, and pity it is. But you're never happy till you're drunk. Split my sides, I've a sick heart to sail with the likes of you." "Easy all, Long John," cried Israel. "Who's a crossing of you?" "Why, how many tall ships, think you now, have I seen laid aboard, and how many brisk lads dying in the sun at Execution Dock," cried Silver. "And all for the same hurry and hurry and hurry. You hear me? I seen a thing or two at sea, I have. If you would only lay your course, and a pint into the windward, You would ride in carriages, you would, but not you, I know you. You'll have your mouth full of run tomorrow and go hang. Everybody knows you was a kind of a chaplain, John. But there's others as could hand and steer as well as you, says Israel. They liked a bit of fun, they did. They wasn't so high and dry, nohow, but took their fling like jolly companions every one. So, says Silver. Well, and where are they now? Pugh was that sort, and he died a beggar man. Flint was, and he died of rum at Savannah. And they was a sweet a crew, they was. Only where are they? But, asked Dick, when we do lay 'em athwart, what are we to do with 'em anyhow? There's the man for me, cried the cook admiringly. That's what I call business. Well, what would you think? Put 'em ashore like maroons? That would have been England's way, or cut 'em down like that much pork. That would have been Flint's, or Billy Bones. Billy was a man for that, said Israel. Dead men don't bite, says he. Well, he's dead now himself, and he knows long and the short of it now. And if ever a rough hand come to port, it was Billy. Right you are, said Silver, rough and ready. But mark you here, I'm an easy man. I'm quite a gentleman, says you, but this time it's serious. Duty is duty, mates. I give my vote. Death. When I'm in Parliament and riding in me coach, I don't want none of these sea lawyers in the cabin a-coming home unlooked for like the devil at prayers. Wait is what I say, till when the time comes, why let her rip. John, cries the coxswain, you're a man. You'll say so, Israel, when you see, said Silver. Only one thing I claim Trelawney. I'll wring his calf's head off his body with these hands, Dick, he added, breaking off. You just jump up like a sweet lad and get me an apple to wet me pipe like. You may fancy the terror I was in. I should have leaped out and run for it if I had found the strength, but my limbs and my heart misgave me. I heard Dick begin to rise. Then someone seemingly stopped him, and the voice of Hans exclaimed, "Oh, stow that! Don't you get suckling of that bilge, John. Let's have a go of the rum." "Dick," said Silver, "I trust you. I've a gauge on the keg, mind. There's the key. You fill a pannikin and bring it up." Terrified I was. I could not help thinking to myself that this must have been how Mr. Arrow got the strong waters that destroyed him. Dick was gone but a little while, and during his absence Israel spoke straight on into the cook's ear. It was but a word or two that I could catch, and yet I gathered some important news, for besides other scraps that tended to the same purpose, this whole clause was audible. "Not another man of them'll join." Hence, there were still faithful men on board. When Dick returned, one after another of the trio took the pannikin and drank, one to luck, another with "Here's to old Flint," and Silver himself sang in a kind of song, "Here's to ourselves, and hold your luff, plenty of prizes and plenty of duff." Just then a sort of brightness fell upon me in the barrel, and looking up, I found the moon had risen, and was silvering the mizzen-top and shining white on the luff of the foresail. And almost at the same time the voice of the lookout shouted, "Land ho!"
Let's make this quick.
End of chapter 11.
The powder magazine is
Chapter
here.
12.
We hit it
Council
at midnight.
of War.
Then we take the bridge.
There was a great rush of feet across the deck. I could hear people tumbling up from the cabin and the forecastle, and slipping in an instant outside my barrel, I dived behind the foresail, and made double towards the stern, and came out upon the open deck in time to join Hunter and Dr. Livesey in the rush for the weather bow. There all hands were already congregated. A belt of fog had lifted almost simultaneously with the appearance of the moon. Away to the southwest of us we saw two low hills, about a couple of miles apart, and rising behind one of them a third and higher hill whose peak was still buried in the fog. All three seemed sharp and conical in figure. So much I saw almost in a dream, for I had not yet recovered from my horrid fear of a minute or two before. And then I heard the voice of Captain Smollett issuing orders. The Hispaniola was laid a couple of points nearer the wind, and now sailed a course that would just clear the island on the east. "And now, men," said the captain, when all was sheeted home, "has any one of you ever seen that land ahead?" "I have, sir," said Silver. "I've watered there with the trader I was cook in." "The anchorage is on the south behind the islet, I fancy?" asked the captain. "Yes, sir. Skeleton Island, they calls it. It were a main place for pirates once, and a hand we had on board knowed all their names for it. That hill to the north they call the foremast hill. There are 3 hills in a row running southward, fore, main, and mizzen, sir. But the main, that's the big un with the cloud on it. They usually calls it the spyglass, by reason of a lookout they kept while they was in the anchorage cleaning, for it's there they cleaned the ships, sir, asking your pardon."
Lies, tell me, or else.
"I've a chart here," said Captain Smollett. "See if that's the place." Long John's eyes burned in his head as he took the chart, but by the fresh look of the paper I knew he was doomed to disappointment. This was not the map we found in Billy Bones's chest, but an accurate copy, complete in all things, names and heights and soundings, with the single exception of the red crosses and the written notes. Sharp as must have been his annoyance, Silver had the strength of mind to hide it. "Yes, sir," said he, "this is the spot to be sure. It's very prettily drawed out. Who might have done that, I wonder? The pirates were too ignorant, I reckon. Aye, here it is. Captain Kidd's anchorage. Just the name my shipmate called it. There's a strong current runs along the south, and then away norward up the west coast. Right you was, sir," says he, "to hold your wind and keep the weather off the island. Leastways, if such was your intention as to enter and careen, there ain't no better place for that in these waters." "Thank you, my man," said Captain Smollett. "I'll ask you later on to give us help. You may go." I was surprised at the coolness with which John avowed his knowledge of the island, and I own I was half frightened when I saw him drawing nearer to me. He did not know, to be sure, that I had overheard his counsel from the apple barrel, and yet I had by this time taken such a horror of his cruelty, duplicity, and power, that I could scarce conceal a shudder when he laid his hand upon my arm. "Ah," says he, "this here is a sweet spot, this island. A sweet spot for a lad to get ashore on. You'll bathe and you'll climb trees and you'll hunt goats, you will, and you'll get aloft on them hills like a goat yourself. Why, it makes you young again. I was going to forget my timber leg, I was. Isn't thing to be young and have 10 toes, you may lay to that. When you want to go a bit of exploring, you just ask old John, and he'll put up a snack for you to take along." And clapping me in the friendliest way upon the shoulder, he hobbled off forward and went below. Captain Smollett, the squire, and Dr. Livesey were talking together on the quarter-deck, and anxious as I was to tell them my story, I durst not interrupt them openly. While I was still casting about in my thoughts to find some probable excuse, Dr. Livesey called me to his side. He had left his pipe below, and, being a slave to tobacco, had meant that I should fetch it. But as soon as I was near enough to speak and not to be overheard, I broke immediately. "Doctor, let me speak. Get the captain and squire down to the cabin, and then make some pretence to send for me. I have terrible news." The doctor changed countenance a little, but next moment he was master of himself. "Thank you, Jim," he said quite loudly. "That was all I wanted to know," as if he had asked me a question. And with that he turned on his heel and rejoined the other two. They spoke together for a little, and though none of them started or raised his voice, or so much as whistled, it was plain enough that Dr. Livesey had communicated my request, for the next thing that I heard was the captain giving an order to Job Anderson, and all hands were piped on deck. "My lads," said Captain Smollett, "I've a word to say to you. This land that we have sighted is the place we have been sailing for. Mr. Trelawney, being a very open-handed gentleman, as we all know, has just asked me a word or two, and as I was able to tell him that every man on board has done his duty alow and aloft, as I never asked to see it done better, why he and I and the doctor are going below to the cabin to drink your health and luck, and you'll have grog served out for you to drink our health and luck. I'll tell you what I think of this. I think it handsome. And if you think as I do, you'll give a good sea cheer for the gentleman that does it." The cheer followed. That was a matter of course, but it rang out so full and hearty that I confess I could hardly believe these same men were plotting for our blood. "One more cheer for Captain Smollett!" cried Captain John, when the first had subsided, and this also was given with a will. On the top of that the three gentlemen went below, and not long after word was sent forward that Jim Hawkins was wanted in the cabin. I found them all three seated round the table, a bottle of Spanish wine and some raisins before them, and the doctor smoking away, with his wig on his lap, and that, I knew, was a sign that he was agitated. The stern window was open, for it was a warm night, and you could see the moon shining behind on the ship's wake. "Now, Hawkins," said the squire, "you have something to say? Speak up." I did as I was bid, and as short as I could make it, told the whole details of Silver's conversation. Nobody interrupted me till I was done, nor did any one of the three of them make so much as a movement, but they kept their eyes upon my face from first to last. "Jim," said Dr. Livesey, "take a seat." And they made me sit down at table beside them, poured me out a glass of wine, filled my hand with raisins, and all three, one after the other, and each with a bow, drank my good health and their service to me, for my luck and courage. "Now, Captain," said the squire, "you were right and I was wrong. I own myself an ass, and I await your orders." "No more an ass than I, sir," returned the captain. "I never heard of a crew that meant to mutiny but what showed signs before, for any man that had an eye in his head to see the mischief and to take steps according. But this crew," he added, "beats me." "Captain," said the doctor, "with your permission, that's Silver, a very remarkable man." "He'd look remarkably well from a yardarm, sir," returned the captain. "But this is talk. This don't lead to anything. I see 3 or 4 points, and with Mr. Trelawney's permission, I'll name them." "You, sir, are the captain. It is for you to speak," said Mr. Trelawney grandly. "First point," began Mr. Smollett. "We must go on, because we can't turn back. If I gave the word to go about, they would rise at once. Second point. We have time before us, at least until this treasure is found. Third point. There are faithful hands. Now, sir, it has got to come to blows sooner or later, and what I propose is to take time by the forelock, as the saying is, and come to blows some fine day when they least expect it. We can count, I take it, on your own home servants, Mr. Trelawney?" "As upon myself," declared the squire. 3, reckoned the captain. "Ourselves make 7, counting Hawkins here. Now about the honest hands." "Most likely Trelawney's own men," said the doctor, "those he had picked for himself before he lit on Silver." "Nay," replied the squire, "Hand was one of mine." "I did think I could have trusted Hands," added the captain. "And to think that they're all Englishmen," broke out the squire. "Sir, I could find it in my heart to blow the ship up." "Well, gentlemen," said the captain, "the best that I can say is not much. We must lay to, if you please, and keep a bright lookout. It's trying on a man, I know. It would be pleasanter to come to blows, but there's no help for it till we know our men. Lay to and whistle for a wind. That's my view." "Jim here," said the doctor, "can help us more than anyone. The men are not shy with him, and Jim is a noticing lad. Hawkins, I put prodigious faith in you," added the squire. I began to feel pretty desperate at this, for I felt altogether helpless, and yet, by an odd train of circumstances, it was indeed through me that safety came. In the meantime, talk as we pleased, there were only 7 out of the 26 on whom we could rely, and out of these 7 one was a boy, so that the grown men on our side were 6 to their 19. End of chapter 12.